Hello, don't go anywhere. This is the wrong place, but it might turn out to be the right one. You're here with Joe, and
Aakash, and you're listening to the We've Got
we've got
Nothing
nothing
Left.
left podcast. Oh, I thought
I,
we were saying
I
that
thought I was going to say it.
together. Oh, all right. Let's just go get
Let's
into it.
just go.
So
We
we're
are
back
back.
again.
No, listen, the gaps are getting smaller,
Yeah, the
and
gaps are getting smaller. We're busy guys, we're busy.
that's what.
No, but
Yeah,
we
exactly.
always come back for you guys. We always
We're
come back.
always thinking about the pod. We're always thinking about
Yeah,
content. It's not like
it's
we don't
true.
speak every day.
No.
Um,
We're never not off it.
yeah, it's just real life, guys. It gets in the way
Yeah,
sometimes, but you
it
know
does.
what? We're always
We'll
here.
always come back.
We can abandon you like the Doctor abandoned Yaz for a year, but just know,
Yeah. We'll be back.
toxically, we will come back for you
Yeah. Even
and then
if you might
blame it
shove us,
on you.
shout at us, we'll be back.
Yeah.
And then you'll confess out your love for us. Yeah.
Anyway, get the
Yeah.
toxic behavior
Um,
aside from our
yeah.
podcast.
So I guess we should sort of explain what we're going to be talking about. You
Yeah.
probably know if you've clicked on the
Yeah,
video
chances are.
or the pod. Yeah.
Hmm.
But we are talking about the Stolen Earth and Journey's End. This is part one
Yeah.
of our two-parter, just like it was back in 2008. 2008.
Yeah. Oh, man. Feels like
What is
yesterday.
that? 15 years?
Something ridiculous like that, which I don't want to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Just
I
like 2 years ago.
remember. God,
Back in my day,
so
I remember.
sad. So sad. But,
Where were you when you watched it?
where was I? Well, here's a funny story. Wasn't, I watched it. I watched Stolen Earth. I was at home. I remember it. Journey's End. And I should really save this for next week, but I'll probably forget.
Mm.
I wasn't, I didn't see it when it aired. And my mum, bless her, she spoiled that David regenerated into himself.
Your mum. So your mum watched it without you?
No, but one of her friends texted her about it, and then she was like, "Oh, don't worry, David's not gone." And I was like, "Why did you say that?"
It completely gets rid of that tension. That's something
Yeah,
that I've written for
immediately.
next week's episode as well, which I want to
Yeah,
talk about now. But
yeah.
let's start from the
But
beginning.
let's start from the beginning. And
It's
the
exciting.
beginning is that we start off the Doctor and Donna land.
It's kind of like a
Oh,
three-parter, isn't it?
love
If
Saturdays.
yeah, I love. Oh, what day is it? Saturday.
Saturday. Oh,
Oh, good. I
good.
like
No, yeah.
Saturdays.
Like Saturdays. Yeah, a three-parter, yeah.
The ending of
With
Turn
it.
Left. I mean,
Turn left. Oh
Roses.
God. Turn left is incredible. I know we're not
It
talking
kind of
about
needs its own episode,
it.
honestly, because it is amazing. It's something I didn't like initially as well, because I feel like you need to be of a certain mindset and age
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
appreciate how
definitely.
dark it is. It's very dark for a Doctor episode.
Very
Um,
dark. But I mean, we've Stolen Earth from the get-go, I have to say, these it's controversial, I know, but these are potentially my favorite Doctor Who story
I don't think that's controversial at all.
of all time. But I see a lot of people put it in their tier list. They put it like below S, below A. Like they don't. I think that people find it very nostalgia bait, sort of coded.
Hmm. But
Um,
I hear what they're saying with that. You could say, like, I've even put, like, as one of my notes, like the opening titles. It kind of is not fan
yeah,
service, but it has a lot of like
it's
uh
like dum 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 the
yeah, of your
names
characters,
over
Martha,
and over.
Jack, Sarah Jane.
Yeah, yeah,
And what I feel like is you really appreciate this episode when you've watched the preceding first three series of Doctor Who,
yeah.
and it's the culmination, of it all coming
Yeah.
together. It's almost
It's
like you
this.
could have. What I thought is you could have ended the series here in a weird
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Like
yeah. It's the
you could take,
MCU or the
yeah,
MCU.
exactly. This is the end game of RTD one, as we
It's
like to
funny.
call it.
It came out when the same year as
I
Iron Man.
man, honestly, honestly, I wouldn't surprise me if the guys at MCU Studios or
Yeah, yeah.
someone was watching Doctor Who, like, how do you balance crossovers because I didn't know at the time. Obviously, I knew about Sarah Jane, obviously, but this was
Yeah.
my first introduction into Gwen Cooper and Ianto, rest in peace. And
Yeah.
spoilers for anyone that hasn't seen Torchwood.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, that was my first introduction into him. I knew about Captain Jack, obviously, and knew that he'd gone back to Wales to start his own
Yeah.
little team, but it was part of a bigger universe, and it's like obviously we've seen like Day One, and the rest of the
God, day
Torchwood
one.
episodes. We don't mention Day One, the
That
war.
needs its own bloody episode, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it does,
This
bloody hell.
podcast was almost called Day One Podcast.
Oh
That's not
God.
even a joke.
For those that have seen Day One, I
You,
apologize, and for
yeah,
those who
sorry.
haven't,
It means something different for us, by the way. I just want to put that
yeah,
out there.
yeah. Anyway, dig
Yeah,
myself into a hole. Let's go
we
back to
are, we
Doctor
are.
Who. I just
Yeah,
feel
so
like
go on.
it was amazing to bring them all sort of together and balance them, and that's what this episode does.
Yes, yeah. Well, I guess that's a good starting point because that is kind of the start of the episode. And obviously you've got the Doctor and Donna. They arrive on Earth, and then suddenly it's just taken out of space, and
Yeah,
the
Earth.
TARDIS doesn't
Yeah.
move. I loved that idea that the TARDIS didn't move and it was stationary.
Even when he looks
Um,
out the box and he's like, "Yeah, it was a really good
yeah,
visual, wasn't it?
yeah,
You could have really visualized it, just like
yeah.
staying stuck."
And this comes back for me a lot of the time when I even when I was younger and I watched the Moffat era. And the biggest, well, not the biggest, but one of my main gripes with the Moffat era would be the Daleks. Um, Mainly because I just don't think that Moffat really knew how to write them.
Hmm.
And he removed the threat from them. I mean, the first episode of the Daleks in the Moffat era is them turning into Teletubbies. So
Yeah.
the Stolen Earth and Journeys, is it just Stolen Earth or is it the Stolen Earth?
That's a bloody good question, mate. And
Actually, remember, maybe I should have looked that up.
but I get what you mean because this entire time the Doctor always talked about in the aftermath of the Time War how a fully fledged Dalek Empire was dangerous and
Yeah,
they only fought outcasts and cultists beforehand. But
yeah,
this was the stakes. This was a fully fledged Dalek Empire coming out of space, entering the orbit. And I love that shot of Martha looking out of unit in New York, Sarah Jane looking up into the sky, Captain Jack looking into the sky. And I mean, well, that was to do with the 27 planets are being displaced
yeah, yeah.
in space. But I mean, linking to that is when they hear the transmission when Mr.
Well,
Smith's like
yeah,
that.
that.
Oh, the
Ah,
music! It's giving me goosebumps just thinking about
can
it.
I just
That's
say
all this episode
as
does. Yeah.
well with them looking up at the 27 planets and then thinking, oh, okay, it's an adventure almost like before they know it's the Daleks, and they're like, and Sarah Jane and Luke, well, Luke Smith is sort of like, oh wow, it's look at the 27
Aliens.
planets, yeah, it's aliens, and Sarah's like almost
That little
excited
smile.
about it. Yeah,
No, she does that smile because
she
she's
doesn't smile,
excited.
and
She's
then she
like,
looks back at the screen. She's like,
what an idiot.
and
That's
then
really good acting from her.
yeah, when you what you were saying before about Mr. Smith, I think that is one of the best pieces of acting in
Oh,
Doctor Who
oh
when
yeah.
Elizabeth Sladen, oh, fucking
She's
R.I.P.
petrified. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's petrified and she's just
the
holding back the tears.
tears in her eyes and the just a
God.
single no that she says, like
Yeah, and
when she knows,
yeah, honestly,
and he was
she
so
carried that
young.
scene. Yeah, because I just love that hopelessness that the
Yeah,
Daleks exhibited, and that links to what you're talking about with the Moffat. We sort of lost that with the just
yeah,
the hopeless nature that even the Doctor facing them realizes how out of depth he is to face them. That this is going to take a lot to
yeah,
outsmart them. They are the most ruthless villains in Doctor Who, I would like to say.
yeah.
He's his hardest enemy.
Oh
Under
yeah,
the,
hundred
yeah,
percent. And
yeah.
I think it they are and they aren't because you can cross the thin line of them being the most ruthless, evil things in the entire universe
Hmm.
versus just being pepper pots on wheels.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Obviously, they have that 60s charm to them that's
they
been
do,
modified, but
they do, and I think that is just exemplified in this two-parter. But in
yeah,
Stolen Earth, primarily when they are arriving and they're single, they don't even say to the human race, they don't even say surrender or any. Their only
no,
thing
they're
that they
coming
say is
to
exterminate, and
yes,
it's just like they don't give. I mean, obviously they didn't just come down and destroy everything. Well, I guess they did, but
well, it's kind.
some.
There was some order to it. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Like
no, no.
Lincoln's what you're saying.
It's
It's
true.
like
Yeah,
when they were going onto Earth and getting the humans out of their houses to get onto the Crucible for the reality bomb experiments, they
yeah.
were getting them out of the houses. And what I loved was seeing that one guy rebel against them, and like
I
he
know what.
threw like a brick at him,
Yeah.
and it was just like carnage. He was
You know
just like,
what?
"All right, wipe them out."
It's in a show for kids to show a kid getting
Yeah,
blown up. Well, not show a kid getting blown up, but
yeah,
a kid walking into the house and then them just absolutely wiping them out
yeah,
is, and it was. I remember seeing that, and I remember that I I was young. God, I'll start that again. When I was younger and I saw that and saw that kid and his family walk into their house and just get blown up, I used to, quite embarrassing, but I used to sort of look out on my street and be terrified that Daleks were going to turn up. And that's
yeah.
how it should be. Kids should be scared of
Scared
Doctor Who
behind the sofa.
behind the
It's because
sofa.
it is the morality as well as the horror of it. It's sort of like the mental horror
Yeah,
of like the villains sometimes, and Sylvie's reaction, Donna's mum, to it, and Wilf's. It was a perfect blend of like drama and then obviously comedy with the paintball. The
yeah, yeah,
dark guy's talk. He got
yeah,
such a good shot. I remember being yes,
yeah.
just the
Instant one
songs.
shot. Never killed a man in his life. One shot on
Yeah,
a Dalek eye
yeah,
stalk.
yeah.
Honestly,
He was a
people with
pro.
machine guns can't hit a Dalek eye stalk from like
Yeah,
point blank
yeah,
range, and he hits it directly.
yeah.
But
There's so
go
much
on.
to talk to you about in this episode. Like just looking
Yeah,
at the
and I
notes.
think that as well just shows how good of a balance that
Yeah,
Russell T Davies can strike between going from a whole family getting slaughtered and to Wilfred Mott shooting a Dalek's eye with a paintball gun.
yeah.
Um, and I've seen a lot of people say that it's overstuffed, but I just don't think it is. It's it is perfectly balanced. I would say
It's
the
also
first half, at least.
yeah, and it's from a writer's point of view, it's kind of justified if the Doctor is completely confused and
Gone.
lost. Here he goes to the Shadow Proclamation and introduces that, and he's always talked about these
Yeah,
international space protocols, like, oh, you can't be
yeah,
this is against galactic law. So then we
yeah,
see this institution, you combine the Jadoon, and it's just like what Russell always did so perfectly was introducing these little snippets, and it's so interesting watching. I'm on the Doctor's Daughter at the moment, and I was watching the Sontaran two-parter and just seeing
yeah.
Rose on the TV
On the
screen,
screen.
and
Yeah.
like it's perfectly symbolized by the bees are disappearing, and I think that had
Yes.
one of the coolest um sort of like endings, where it tied up that whole thing. We didn't actually
Yeah.
get to see the bees. Um, but you know what? I also wrote how visually stunning this episode is. When he
Yeah.
goes into the Medusa Cascade, you really feel how lost he is and
Mm.
how hopeless the situation is. And Donna's just like, you never give up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And like, we got to fight, and he's just completely
Silent.
disconnected.
Yeah.
He just doesn't
Uh,
know.
yeah. And when he's sort of leaning back and he's just looking and
Yeah,
he just doesn't know what to do. And then Donna's like just crying. It's like,
yeah. Her
and
parents
yeah,
or her mum.
and yeah, and like just that idea that this feeling that you're going to go on all of these amazing adventures with the Doctor, and this character in Donna is our surrogate. She's
Yeah.
our
the audience's eyes.
Yeah, and to see her just completely distraught in the middle of the universe, in some place she doesn't know, in some time she doesn't know, with a
Yeah,
guy that she knows him, and she's they're best mates, but like at the same time, who knows how long they've spent together,
exactly.
and
None
she's
of
just
them
like, oh
ever know.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, you're the Doctor's best mate. Who knows him best in the universe? None of his companions know his name.
yeah.
Like, he never talks about his family until
Clara
like
does.
Jenny comes.
Fucking stupid.
Um, yeah.
Sorry.
It's just like it is. It goes actually onto what Moffat was talking about with Capaldi's Doctor, which was really nice actually, of how he's not a hero, he's an idiot. He's a traveler. Like he doesn't
Yeah,
go out to save the universe. They just enjoy traveling, but they stand up for
yeah.
what's right. And
He
they've
can
just
make some
actually, yeah, they've
make some
ended up,
enemies on the way, and
yeah, and that's what it is. It's that continuation. And I just think something that really is really like nice in this episode is the music, especially after listening to the Doctor Who 60th anniversary celebration, which
yes, yeah,
that's a whole other episode. They actually, on a side note, released the new opening titles music,
yeah,
which funnily enough I listened to drunk on the train coming back home. I was coming home and for like 20 minutes kept on replaying it. But like it does so much. What I realized was how
yeah.
much of the emotion comes from the music. And
It's true.
one of my favorite scenes I want to talk about is the Subwave Network and Harriet Jones, because that's just
Yes,
powerful.
yeah, and something that I actually spoke to Joe and Ben about the other night,
Yeah.
Twin Dilemma podcast. Shout out there.
Little shout out.
Yeah, is that Mr. Copper from the Voyage of the Damned was the creator of the Subwave Network.
No. The Mr. Copper
Yes,
Foundation.
yes,
Well, I never put that together. That's
yeah,
so mad.
yeah.
That's so mad. That makes
I
so
know.
much sense as well.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. RTD just has loads of puzzle pieces from
yeah.
previous episodes that
And
he can put
how
in and
many
justify
times have you seen that episode and not
it.
like
How did you know? Or did you just click when you heard it?
I one day I was like like there's no reason that she would say, "Oh no, I didn't create it. It was the Mr. Copper Foundation."
That
Why
makes
would that
so much
like
sense.
why would she say that? And then I thought, and then I went on TARDIS wiki on TARDIS databases and I looked up Mr. Copper because I couldn't really and I was like, no, it's him. And it does make sense because he's a millionaire now. I've got money.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my what?
He
Um
he definitely got killed by the Daleks.
yeah, he definitely did. Yeah, he's wiped out now. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Clive Swift, by the way.
Oh
You
man.
should read the article. If you haven't read the article, between Benjamin Cook and Clive Swift about Voyage of the Damned, you should. Because Clive Swift basically said you should have better things to do than be watching Doctor Who. He hated it. But yeah, it's quite funny. Anyway, yeah, like you were saying about the Subwave Network, I think just even the inclusion of Harriet Jones, like that was supposed to be Elton from Love and Monsters.
That would have made sense as well. That would have been nice to see.
Yeah, but like
But Harriet's a leader.
Harriet, you know, just I'm so sad that she dies in it because
Yeah, but
but
mate,
yeah, it
such a good death.
definitely, and it shows again, like we were saying, just the impact that the Daleks have, just to keep them off, like just off of the scent of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Someone sacrificed straight off the bat.
That's what I
Um,
realized, and it goes into the next episode as well. I feel like I will be saying this episode, the next episode, but like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what it is. Everything he's laying
build up.
everything up,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's why it works so well. And it was like so she said in the Christmas special there'll be a day, Doctor, where, and she even says it in this episode. Like I told him, there'll be a
yeah,
day where you don't come, the human race is in danger, and we will be defenseless. And it's like you really feel the stakes. I wrote in my notes, stakes, stakes, stakes. You just see ordinary people getting taken off the streets. It's
yeah.
dark, it's scary, especially as an 8-year-old watching it. It's
Oh
sort
yeah,
of like you really connect to the emotion and hopelessness that Jack and Sarah Jane were feeling. But what
Yeah,
was so powerful was the combination of music of hanging on the tablophone, that's what it's called, if you
yeah, I
want to
love
look it up
that.
on
Yeah,
Spotify,
yeah,
and the subwave network of like Mr. Smith can call all the mobile networks. We can connect that to the rift and
yeah,
call out into space, bring the human race together. And it was like, all right, teamwork. And it taught fundamental skills of like we all have to work together. Like not one person
yeah,
can do it, but if we all work together, we can put our individual talents to use.
yeah. One gripe I have with the subwave network, and it makes sense, but it's the fact that surely it should contact everyone that why isn't Tegan there? Why isn't Ace there? Why isn't Joe Grant there?
Yeah, they don't have
Why isn't
laptops,
Ian
mate. They're too old.
Chesterton? Yeah, Ian Chesterton definitely doesn't have a fucking webcam. Um, the fact that you need a
Yeah,
webcam to speak to to speak on the subwave network is brilliant.
don't have them. They're naughty.
They're naughty.
Yeah, I mean, at least I feel like Sarah Jane kind of symbolized the bridge between classic to new Who, but
Yeah,
at
yeah,
that point of time, less is more sometimes, and I feel like we had a good amount of
yeah.
companions.
You don't want a full screen of 70 different icons of different companions.
Yeah, otherwise you
Um,
won't be able to process it properly. And
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it was nice seeing Sarah Jane talk to Jack, and also the whole thing with Martha. We kind of skipped it, but Martha's like near death with the
yes,
Sontaran machine, the teleport
yeah,
Project Indigo. That was scary, the music there, and
yeah.
like after watching Jack, Martha was my first companion, and that series
Was she
of Sound of the
really?
Drums. Yeah, yeah,
I
because
didn't
I
know
got
that.
into Doctor Who. The first episodes I watched were the last of series three because everyone at school
Wow.
was watching it, and so yeah, I think I really connected to Martha, really going for it, and her whole character arc is
Yeah.
amazing. And obviously getting the Osterhagen key, which we'll talk about next week,
Oh
and
gosh, yeah.
Jack is just like in awe and confused and scared for her, and
Yeah,
like.
well, they had quite a friendship built up in the Torchwood
Was she in
series.
Torchwood? Was she in
She
Torchwood
was.
series before that then? Yeah, because I
Yeah.
watched obviously after. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Because I watched Torchwood when I was a kid. Because it aired on like a Tuesday or a Thursday. Oh no, no, no. Sorry, it was on a
Sorry.
Saturday. Go on,
I watched Torchwood once as a kid. There was the episode when Gwen was getting married and she got pregnant by an alien, and
mate. That's the first episode I watched.
I was so confused.
Yeah,
I was
and there
like,
was all
what
these
is
like
Mate, it's
I
not
don't even
good
know
to
what they
watch that as a
were.
kid.
No,
It's not good to
mate.
watch as a
I
kid.
so John Barrowman was on like the Jonathan Ross show or something, and he said on a Thursday night, Torchwood airs with like all of the swearing and the sex and all of that stuff cut out, so kids can watch it.
Ah.
Yeah, so I watched it on a Thursday night every night, and I fucking watched that first episode.
Of course
It
I
wasn't the first
was.
episode
Yeah, yeah,
of
first series.
Gwen's wedding, and none of that was fucking cut out. It was
Oh
like
God,
you watched like them rip people's necks out, and I was just sitting
mate.
there when my mum was like, maybe we should turn this off. I was like, no,
We
it's
we
Doctor
will
Who.
do it. We will do an episode on Torchwood, guys.
Yes,
I feel like
yeah,
we need to
definitely.
explain, especially to the Doctor Who community that hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing it back to the episode, what
Yes.
gets me, my other gripe with the Subwave network is like, right, let's get to work.
Yeah.
And then
Ding,
Harriet's
ding,
just
ding, ding,
typing.
like a
No,
typewriter.
no, it's with
Bless
two
her.
fingers, like
Yeah.
opening
You
all
needed,
Subwave channels
and that's something
now.
I will also talk about next week with Donna Noble being the most intelligent being in the universe, tapping it like oh, 1,000 words per minute and literally just tapping like
Yeah,
really
no,
anyway,
come on.
but that's next. That's next.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
nitpicking actors.
Harriet Jones fucking tapping one key at a time.
Yeah, there's just
Oh
But
god.
yeah, she
I'd
had one
love
of the
to
best.
actually rewatch that, analyze what she's typing into it.
Oh
I'd
mate,
love
it's
to
not. It's definitely just random keys. I don't think she's
like
like. I don't know. You can look.
it's like
I
nothing.
did watch it, but I think it's more like you are like as a kid, you don't really care. It's the
No,
music takes over, and you're
no.
watching, and it's just like bringing the TARDIS back, and then obviously for the big finale of that episode with the Doctor finding Rose back on Earth. And obviously, I've just skipped him, but Davros.
I was just
And
about
that
to
was my
say
first
our
my
big
first
man
introduction
Davros.
into the big. I was going to call him the Big D, and I regret saying that.
He
Anyway,
is the big D,
the
and
Big D.
I don't think he's got one.
No, no.
No, he hasn't
He
got
had to give
any.
it up for Dalek cells, but
Yeah,
we'll talk more
yeah.
about that
Oh god.
later.
Oh god. One of
Um,
them are made out of his. Oh, anyway. Um. Yeah. Uh. Yeah. Go on. Sorry, you were going to talk
what was
about.
interesting was like I like obviously he has this whole rich culture and history back as a classic Doctor Who villain, but
Yeah.
watching him for the first time, I got the sense that obviously he had a history
Well.
with the Doctor, but I didn't need to know like
Yeah.
the details. I imagined it.
I mean, do you know? I can give you sort of a quick rundown on Davros if you.
Well, let's do it for the audience as well.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh. Oh. I said that,
He's
and
like,
now
all
I
right.
fucking can't do it. Well,
Strap
I
in for
mean, this
20
is
minutes, guys.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so it was the fourth. This is completely discounting Big Finish and all that. This is just on screen. So the fourth met him in Genesis of the Daleks when it's literally the beginning of the Daleks.
Yes.
Um, and then he met him again and in an episode I cannot remember with Romana. And he was killed in supposedly killed in Genesis of the Daleks by the Daleks themselves.
Mm.
Because there is that running thing that he isn't a
A
Dalek.
Dalek. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
he's
kind of like
yeah.
the whole thing of like, not to mention, I don't know, it's a bit like mentioning obviously that the Daleks are inspired by like Nazis and World War II.
Yeah, no, it's
There's the
true.
whole connotation between like Hitler and the Aryan race of being blonde hair,
Yeah,
blue-eyed, but their
yeah.
creator or biggest influencer is not. He is impure.
Yes. Yeah, impure, yeah. No, it's completely valid because it's true, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I won't give you a full rundown on Davros, but it's, like you said, it's this rich history.
Mm.
And not every Davros episode is great. But one of my favorite things that Davros did was pretend to be basically not a god, but like this leader of this sort of civilization in a Sixth Doctor episode, and was just he just pretended to be a head in a jar, and then that big that thing opened up, and he was actually Davros inside of it, um,
Yeah.
and
That's yes, circular
he was
Dalek.
turning humans into food and selling it to humans, which was quite
Wow.
quite clever. Yeah,
You gotta love
um,
classic Doctor Who. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
his plan's a lot more maniacal in this episode. But what was
yes,
interesting was the whole idea that the Doctor tried to save him. You saw a ship go into the jaws of the Nightmare Child, and I love hearing
yeah,
about it at the time more. You can really just visualize it.
yeah,
And he was just like when he said it was so funny because it just shows like such a good way to end conversations with like buddies or like anyone that is like you don't like. He's like, I've only got one thing to say to you. Bye.
bye. Yeah,
It was just so
brilliant. I can just,
great.
and we don't see Davros's face after that. I can just imagine it being like, why do
Can
we
we get
have
the
to do
connection?
this?
I think the connection, Doctor, Doctor. No, it was just like find he'll. There was like, oh, the Doctor is escaping. It's like he'll go to his precious Earth, and he does
Oh
do that.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, I forgot about that.
he
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he
yeah.
knows him.
He
It's like they're
knows.
playing chess. They're playing chess.
Well,
These guys.
that's another aspect of this episode, and this two-parter is Dalek Khan. He's insane.
Yes,
The abomination.
mate.
The
Honestly,
abomination is insane.
yeah. And he's like, be careful. Like this, completely like again, RTD, tying it all together,
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
one Dalek
sorry.
that escaped
Yeah.
from Manhattan, and he is it justifies how this whole Dalek Empire could be there.
Yeah.
And Khan is interesting, like, especially in the next step. Like, I feel like, I don't know, in this episode, yeah, you really sort of believe that he is this Frankenstein creature type of abomination that's
Yeah.
just insane. Yeah.
Yeah. And in a sense, almost a bad wolf kind of thing himself, because he can see across time,
Yeah.
maybe in
Yeah.
more fragmented pieces of time.
And you
Um,
love seeing a tentacle prosthetic of the Dalek as well,
yeah,
really
it's
seeing
so yeah.
reminding you how like
The
disgusting and pathetic mutated things they
the
are.
different kinds of Dalek in this, the Supreme Dalek, the red big Dalek with the three
Oh,
prongs off the side
beautiful.
and the three
Three light bulbs.
three light bulbs. Honestly, that action figure as a kid was the best fucking thing ever.
Damn.
Um, Davros, Dalek Khan, even just the 'cause they had like Daleks in this with like sonic cannons that we didn't
Yeah,
see.
they weren't plungers. They were like
No, like big cannons.
they
Um,
were an empire. Like they were weaponized Daleks.
yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
it only took one normal Dalek to get the Doctor. I
true,
really want to talk about it as well. This whole
true.
ending of the episode where he gets back onto Earth, he sees the ghost
Yeah,
town, and Donna's like, "What did Rose?" No, the Doctor's like, "What did Rose say in her parallel universe?"
tell
And she's like,
yourself.
"Yeah," and then it's like, dun 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 dun,
Yeah,
and then it's like I'm watching like a scene out of Shakespeare. He's like seeing his
yeah,
long
yeah,
lost
yeah,
love. But
yeah.
that's what it is, you know. And like I was watching it today, and I was like, "Damn, he really hasn't seen her for ages." And
Before we get on to what happens next, just one more thing that I think we should talk about really quick is when is the fact that Donna's loss to come is hinted. And I, as a kid, thought that this was it. The Doctor's dead. When that
yeah,
woman in the Shadow Proclamation was like, "I'm sorry for your loss," and she's like, "Yeah, my whole planet." She's like, "No, the loss yet to come." And then
yeah.
when the Doctor gets, well, go ahead.
Well, the Doctor, no, you can say it.
Doctor gets exterminated
Damn.
by
Whilst he's running to Rose,
yeah, by an ordinary Dalek, which is great because it just shows that it can be any of them.
all it takes, and he just
One
got,
shot. Yeah,
and it's like it was mad to see him exterminated, and then he just really just got like I remember watching that, feeling tense. I was like, okay,
yeah.
like he hasn't died straight away because it's sort of like it skimmed him,
That's a
but
great effect. It's
yeah,
like
and yeah,
half
just
a
seeing him light up as a
yeah,
skeleton.
yeah, half the skeleton light up, and it's like "Ooh," that
I
noise.
put yeah. I
Ooh.
put this down as this is the greatest cliffhanger they've ever done in Doctor Who
Agreed.
because
Agreed.
I really thought that when it ended with him regenerating, what we were going to get in the next episode was, and I kind of wish we had it in the next episode, but I wish they put in the open titles of Journey's End a question mark instead of David Tennant's name, because I really thought we were going to get another
Yeah,
Doctor, which it's such a cool concept, isn't it? To like get
yeah,
them
yeah,
up and
yeah,
then get them to be
yeah,
different. Can you imagine if Matt Smith just turned up in the
yeah.
test?
Well, something I guess I can talk about it now quickly, but Russell T Davies wanted Ian McKellen and Dame Judy Dench, or Sir Ian McKellen and Dame Judy Dench. I can never say her name properly to play the Doctor between David Tennant and David Tennant, just in like a small section of the intro of Journey's End, like running around the TARDIS. I don't know
Mm,
why he wanted it, but it's in the Writer's Tale. It's a book.
yes, that book.
It's a brilliant book. If you can get it and read it because it's incredible. Um, but it's just all those little things that he says that he wanted, and obviously
Yeah.
some of them is some of the things he says or said were not true, but I
Mm,
think he deep down it was true that he wanted that. Um, but yeah, like he was saying as well, just that idea that the Doctor's exterminated, and that final moment before before the credits roll when he bursts out into regeneration.
yeah.
Um, and Donna doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, and she's so confused, and she's in tears. Rose is in tears. It's like, you can't. I came all this way, and it's just like, yeah, we're gonna lose 10. He's gonna
Yeah,
regenerate.
yeah,
You've never seen him regenerate and not follow through before, and it was
yeah.
just like,
Well, I hope he didn't
how?
follow through. That would be
Yeah, I mean,
stinky.
have you heard what he's still on set before he got into character? Like Paul Freeman,
Oh.
um, he said for a good performance. Anyway, um, I just realized like as a kid, I really was surprised, and I did not expect what was going to happen in next week's episode
Yeah,
of what like
yeah,
happened, and that big to be continued.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, 3D in
massive, yeah.
2008. This is
And
serious.
I think as well, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about Donna not knowing him as well as she thought she does or thinks she does at the
Yeah.
time, because she's like, what happens next? What happens next? She doesn't know
What are you
what
talking about?
regeneration
Yeah.
is. I guess it's quite a touchy subject for the Doctor, but still, it's quite the jumping off point for next week's episode, um,
Yeah.
because they left it on a cliffhanger, just like we will.
Yeah, exactly. To be continued. My
To be
guys.
continued. I can't really say it how it came onto screen.